Barrett Brooks, he was part of the pre- and post-game live CSN for Eagles, of course, their loss yesterday and this morning on Breakfast on Broad. I'm sure a lot of the officiating. I don't want to bring that up as the big factor here, but I will say this, Barrett, in watching the post-game last night, your colleague Seth Joyner, that was the first thing he brought up was the penalties were a big factor. 14 for Philly, just 2 for Detroit. And like I said, I don't care if all 14 were legitimate calls. You got to make them closer than 4. Any official will tell you what we want to do is make sure those numbers are a little closer.
Well, that team is just not as good as all those penalties that occurred with the Eagles. Usually you get those type of penalties, and it is that much skewed when you have an inferior team playing a team that's better than you are. I mean, you're trying to do whatever it takes just to hang on, and sometimes you have to go above and beyond to do that, try to beat a team that you're better than. So it wasn't a sense that they were better than the Eagles. In fact, the Eagles had the better team. I just think they went out there with a lot of their attitude. The beginning of the game, thought they were just going to walk over them. I think they had a little bit of that jet lag from being away for that week and not staying with the fundamentals, because that was probably the worst fundamentally sound game that I've seen them play this year.
BB, what did you think of the Matthews play call and then the call by the refs on that one?
You know what? I mean, just the fact that, they didn't even acknowledge that there was a flag and it was on number 98, who's a defensive player, just goes to show the inconsistency and bad calls that were experienced this game. I don't understand how the league can really stand to put a product out there like that and then expect for, the public and even the head coach of the teams to really acknowledge these guys did a good job. I can't see that. This is, it's a terrible job officiating, number one, but it also, you can't take it out of the Eagles' hands and say, all right, 14-2, that's just ridiculous.
Did you have an issue though with Doug calling that sweep for Ryan Matthews at that point when he had the fumble?
I absolutely didn't. He's not a guy that really fumbles a lot, but they don't have really that number one running back and that number one receiver that they can rely on to go to day in and day out. And most teams that have that type of player, you put the ball in their hands. So I guess, coach is really hanging his hat on Ryan Matthews being the GOAT. He's going to be the guy they're going to go to day in and day out as far as getting the tough yards, running the offense around him as a runner. I thought they were going to be a little more balanced, considering the fact that Smallwood and Kenyon Barner had good games. But, they just didn't do it. So I can't see this team really advancing any further than they are if they don't get somebody to step up and be that number one go-to guy in those tough situations.
Well, how about the throw at the very end of the game that ended up getting picked off, the throw to Nelson Aguilar? Were you okay with going for the home run ball at that point, or would you rather have them dink and dunk and sort of move the way that way?
I absolutely think that was the worst call they could have made. It's not just on Carson not being able to go out there and execute that throw. It was a little bit of, everybody involved with that play. It was a bad call, number one, to call that play. Number two, it's a bad pass by Carson, but then also is to not go up there and compete for the ball is just a bad way to judge the ball and how to go get the ball by the receiver. I didn't think he really went up there and tried to get it. He couldn't locate the ball, and Nelson Aguilar just is not a guy that I would go to in tight situations. He's just not. If anything, I would go to the shallow cross with Matthews. You just have to wait till it got open, or throw it away and let them fight another day.
Barrett, from your experience as a player, when you look at where this team is right now, coming off a game that that you should have won, especially the way it played out, as badly as you played, to have the position and the opportunity to try to win the game there at the end, and then the fumble, the interception. When you go into this week now, and you have to try to put this in your short-term memory, as a former player, is regrouping on the players, or is that on the coaches to try to get them to put this one away?
I think the players just have to take this and go away, and they have to use this as a learning experience on what not to do. Play selection I didn't think was bad. I think they did run Sproles a little too much, but he was effective when they gave him an opportunity. But, play calling was okay. I just think that, you have to make better decisions as far as, who Carson's going to throw to, who Carson's going to go to in those type of situations. Also, Ryan Matthews has to practice a little more, because, I mean, it's something that you practice when you switch the ball over, because everybody obviously says he had the ball in the wrong hand. So when he went up and got tackled, he lost the ball. But that's something that you practice. That's something that you go through day in and day out. Practicing every day becomes such a second nature to you. Well, it wasn't second nature to him simply because he hasn't practiced in so long. He hasn't done it consistently, and that's something that you have to do consistently.
Barrett Brooks is with us. Eagles lose to the Lions. Let me ask you this, Barrett. Do you take any trends from this game that concern you moving forward now? Because the way I look at it is, all right, 4 games in, I know the Eagles only played 3, but you start to sense trends. I thought the Lions sensed some trends from Philadelphia and implemented that, the screen play. I think the Eagles have tried to go to that screen a lot, and the Lions were ready for it. I thought the defensive lineman, I forget him, 61, made a great play where the Eagles let him go, and he said, nope, you're not fooling me on this. And he ran out with Sproles. And from that point forward, they really sniffed out the screen a lot. They took that part away. But were there some trends in this game that you think should concern us moving forward as they go into a tough part of their schedule here at Washington, Minnesota, and then a very good Dallas team all of a sudden?
Well, now you have 4 games out there in which teams can go out there and really see who Carson Wentz is. I know you're not going to be able to beat Carson Wentz, for the most part, because he's a pretty smart player. But, they understand what the game plan is to stop this Eagles team. And that's to go out and get the weapons that, go out and catch the ball. They don't have a consistent guy they can go to. And, they feel as though that's what you go out there and make the emphasis on how to stop this Eagles team. Carson's smart enough that he can pick the blitz up, so you really don't blitz Carson. What you can do is hamper Carson's weapons on the outside. He does not have that, that go-to guy, just like what Matthew Stafford had. Matthew Stafford had a go-to receiver. He could have went to Jones. At the end of the day, this team is a physical team, and they did not play physical the first half of the game. So you have, you hang your hat on certain things, and those things you do well. Well, teams are going to go in and execute a game plan in which they take those things and use your weaknesses against you. And the weakness is the receiving core. We're going to stop them. On defense, we're going to throw the screen because you're getting so much penetration from the defensive line going up the field. So, the same thing that makes you laugh makes you cry. It's a double-edged sword. The things you do well that you try to keep going with it, but teams are smart too. They get paid also. Defensive coordinators get paid a lot of money to stop offenses, and at the end of the day, that's what they did against this team.
Barrett, when you talk about how they don't have the weapons on the outside, and we all know that they don't have that really true number one receiver out there, but they do have 3 really good above-average tight ends in the fact that they have Zach Ertz, Brent Selleck, and Trey Burton. But those guys were hardly targeted at all. Selleck had no targets. Zach Ertz back after several weeks. He's ready to go. He only got 3 targets. Trey Burton, 2. Were you surprised they didn't try to go to the tight ends more often, in particular perhaps Zach Ertz, more than they did?
I definitely was surprised, simply because they do better in running, that 13 personnel the coach talked about. They didn't run that personnel package. If they did it 1 or 2 times, that was it. But they would do better by doing it because it puts a lot of pressure on defenses. It's like the defense has to pick your poison. If you come in with a 3 tight end type of offense, that means you have the ability to run the ball consistently, also pass the ball because you have 2 guys that can go out and stretch the field in Zach Ertz and Burton. So I don't understand why they didn't use that conceptually. I guess they would just throw it out there so defensive coordinators can look over it, study it, and really, practice on that as opposed to practicing on the other stuff, focus on that. So I didn't see them do it, and I thought they would have done it. They had some success doing it in preseason, but we didn't see it, So that really shocked me that they didn't go about their business of doing that. Especially in the crucial situations in the red zone. Those are bigger guys. They can outrun most linebackers, and it's a matchup nightmare against safeties, but they didn't use it.
By the way, go back to an earlier point you made. Carson Wentz this year, 27 of 33, 3 touchdowns against the blitz in his 4 starts. So he has shown, when you come after him, he can make plays. So that's just to throw that number out there for you. Barrett, are you buying at all Doug Peterson trying to sell that Bradham was –
No, absolutely not. Come on now. He tried to pull it over. He tried to pull it on us. No, that's not. They had to because now the Bradham's played too well. throughout the season to not have him out there. There had to be a punishment thing. He tried to throw the wool over our eyes saying, all right, well, I just wanted, to match him up with certain personnel. I want to put Tulloch with Michael Kendricks, and I wanted to put Nigel Bradham with Hicks. Oh, come on, get out of here!
Just making sure we're on the same. Well, let me ask you.
I'm not gonna let you get that out.
Would you rather Peterson admit that he was punishing his player just to prove a point?
Well, you know what I mean. I guess he tried to fall on the sword for Schwartz or whatever. We were born I was born tonight, but I wasn't born last night. When he came in when Bradham came in, he was an instant impact. He said he played 40 reps, but I mean, those are reps that are like first or second down. He has played masterfully in the nickel package, and everybody in the whole arena knew that Riddick and Michael Kendricks had history last year. I mean, he ate Michael Kendricks up last year on the screen plays, one-on-one tackling. Kendricks couldn't do anything. And then you're going to keep him out there knowing that this guy is a pretty good player? It just didn't make sense to me, So as I say, fundamentally, he wasn't there in the game. And, as a defense as a whole, they didn't tackle fundamentally either. So, come on now. I mean, get them in the game. Sometimes you just got to put your best players out there and understand that, all right, if they get in a little trouble, you got to look past it a little bit, because I mean, he's not even guilty yet.
Yeah. Well, hey, if you're penalizing him for doing something wrong, which I don't have a problem with, at least say yes. We sat Nigel because we wanted to penalize him, but don't try to make yourself look like a fool then, because obviously you're making a bad coaching decision.
A very bad coach. Nigel Bradham has played well enough that I'd say, all right, he messed up. I had to put Kendricks out there. For the first half. After that, he played well.
Yeah.
Period, point blank.
Barrett Brooks.
The whole second half.
Barrett Brooks, pre- and post-game live on Comcast Sportsnet before and after every Eagles game with R. Diddy and, of course, Seth Joyner, Michael Barkan, and, of course, every weekday morning from 7 to 9 on the Comcast Network for Breakfast on Broad, and right here every Monday with Barrett's Breakdown. You the man, man.
Take it easy, guys.